Hey friend, good job getting through that lesson on functions, subroutines. I think that might have been a little bit dense, but I think it's absolutely necessary to learn immediately. It's going to put you head and shoulders above kind of the beginner level understanding of scripting here in Autohotkey. The other thing we want to get into now is it would be annoying to have to copy and paste this function inside our functions area every time we want to use it if we're starting a new project or something of that sort. The other part is we want to use functions that we didn't necessarily write. We don't need to reinvent the wheel every time we want to do something new. Maybe someone's already done it before and they made their function available. Let's go ahead and use it in our script so that we don't spend a lot of time reinventing a good way that they've found out how to do it. The way I normally do it is I will have a folder in here called functions. A lot of people call it libs or lib, but I like to call it functions. I might switch to lib because I'm seeing it more and more. But inside functions, we're going to have different scripts that they don't do anything other than define functions. Inside of here is just a bunch of functions that I've written or other people have written. Actually, this one is mostly me, and this one is one that I use a lot for visualizing arrays. So let's go ahead and use this one in our main script over here, which is this. And I've got that available for download here, downloadmob.com/learnautohotkey. Go ahead and grab that so you can get this file, so you can get this nice structure. I'm sure you have it already. I'll stop bothering you about that. And what we want to do is we're going to need to define where that is. So we use the include. Whoops. Oh, okay. I guess it's trying to help me by telling me what do you want to include. That's cool. But in this case, I want to just define it myself. And here it's this text editor gives us some help. It kind of tells us what to do here, but we're not defining the file name itself. Let's just define a folder, and I think we can actually go like this. Scripter. Functions. And actually I've got the rest on my clipboard, so we can do it like that. Oh, I don't. Okay. Alright, so here we're saying include this folder and include this specific one. That is just to help us so that we don't have to do that for every single script in that folder. It maybe doesn't help us a lot in this case, but when I have 5 or 6 different libraries in there, it can look a little odd if you list this 10 times, and it's just helps me. So what I want to do is get you learning about objects, and maybe before we do that, let's take a look here at some different Autohotkey commands. If you go to Autohotkey or ahscript.org and you jump into documents, you're going to end up here, and command list is somewhere on there on the right, right here. And this is going to list basically all the built-in functions or commands that Autohotkey has. You can see some of these that I've clicked on recently. This is a good one we'll be covering soon. Different things here. If you want to do like a pop-up window for the user to tell them something, this would be kind of a thing you want to use. So there's a few in here. I want to just go over a few real quickly, or give you an idea of what things are in here. Let's do that's odd. Oh, okay, there, I've got it. Oh, pixel get color, that's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of pixel search. And pixel search, I'm just going to go over some of these commands. I think when I first started getting into this, I thought, wow, this is these commands are going to help me get my scripts going, my tools working just right out of the box. I don't have to figure out how to scan the screen, things like that. Pixel search takes a few different inputs. You define first the command, and then you've got after that different other pieces of information that you need to include, and anything that's included in brackets is optional. So pixel search is going to search a selection of the screen for a certain pixel color. I don't use it too much, but some people beginning like it. So output var x is when it does find your pixel, it's going to give you that location in output var x and y, the x being the lengthwise distance and the y being the up and down height distance. So if you think of it like a graph, well, here we're defining the area that we want to search. So x1, y1 would be a location like right here, and then x2, y2 is another location here. So our script would search this area for whatever color ID we specify. Down here you can see an example of what it might look like. They're searching in this area for this color. I think that was variation or something, and it's an optional one. I wouldn't probably use it too much. And then this variable px and py are going to be assigned a new value if it's found. I think if it's not found, it gets a value of 0 or something. Anyways, this is kind of how you look up the documentation. I want to also look at image search, which is what I use more often in that case. Similar idea, except you need to specify an image file. I like to use that more often because 1 pixel is a little bit odd to be searching for. If I can do an image, I have a better chance of making an exact match, I suppose. It's kind of tough to explain, but we'll get to it once we start building our tool. Another one let's look at here real quick is, let's say, mouse move. I did win move. That's fine. Win move is kind of simple. Let's do mouse move. Mouse move is kind of the same thing. You can define an x location, y location. Here is probably 0, 0, and as we go this way, we're probably getting towards x being 300, and y is still 0. If we go down, y increases. So that's kind of the reason, I hope that makes sense how x and y works. But if you call this, the mouse will move. You can define a speed if you want to, otherwise I believe it's instant. Offset, so if you want to do something more complicated, like moving the mouse from some location. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to get at here. It'd be also, if you should go through this and kind of look at these commands. Some of them are functions where you see in parentheses. So it's good to look at this, see if there's anything that interests you, take a look at it, experiment with it. But let's get back to our text editor. And I want to do objects or arrays. Let's start with. Variables are great and good, but they can only hold one piece of information. If we're dealing with a lot of data, it's going to not be very efficient to have one variable for every piece of information that's coming in. Especially in the type of tools that I deal with, I'm dealing with multiple servers, multiple pieces of information, and usually they're all related. Maybe I'll have like 10 server names. And so let's just go ahead and create a object here. I like to call them underscore array, just so I know what I'm looking at when I read it. And typically I'm going to have multiple of them. I'm going to have 10 of them. A index. Well, actually, first we have to say this is an array. And the way you do that is you say, you type it like this. We use the expression operator, and we're just going to say you are now a blank array. There's also some other commands you can do to start an array, but I find this to be the simplest. And it doesn't have anything in there at the first level. It's a totally blank slate. Now there's a few ways we can get information into that array. We could use a method called insert, and we could insert the value of let's insert the value of knock op 01, and we could do that a few times to get our information in there, and that would create 3 different elements in our array. Let's go ahead and view that. One of the functions in util arrays is, I think it's GUI underscore array. I'm not crazy about that naming, but maybe it's array GUI. There we go. So this is a tool I use a lot for visualizing arrays. And inside this array, we have 3 values. We have the server name here, here, and here. Now these don't have any labels, so I usually create what is referred to. Oh yeah, they're called associative arrays. They have a label. So I would be more inclined to do a case like this. Server arrays are named, and we can I'm really struggling with the text editor sometimes here. I'm not used to that. But let's say server name is now equal to, oh, let's not mess up again. Let's set it to knock ops 01. And actually this wouldn't really do anything. A index, when you go into a loop of Autohotkey, A index is how many times you've been through that loop. For now, let's just do it like this. We'll get to that in the next lesson, I hope. So this should give us what we want, except they're all named the same thing. Okay, that does work in this editor. Okay, let's do that and let's see if it worked. For some reason, oh, I see. We did the 3 there again. But that's a better way to do it, because now we have that in a name. So later when we need it, let's say later in our program we're dealing with that, and maybe we have a function called ping server, and we can just, whoops, server array. Oh, okay, that works. We can go like that, and if the function ping server actually did anything, this could maybe go and ping it, and maybe we get result of ping. Whoop. So result of ping gets the value associated, maybe how many milliseconds it took. So that is kind of a brief overview of arrays. I don't know how many minutes we've been into this. I also wanted to get to file reading. I don't know if we have enough. I think we have some time here. Let's get into file reading real quick. Actually, let's save that for the next lesson. I think this is good for now. Yeah, let's go ahead and call that good for now. Let's get that in the next lesson. I think this is already going on 7-8 minutes. So what I'd like you to do is go through that this list, find something that interests you, and just experiment with it. As well, I'd like you to create an object, if you can, something like this. This is what I would probably call a 2-dimensional array, because you don't just have to say server name. Maybe we have some other information associated with that level 1 thing. So maybe we say also CPU cores. How many cores does the CPU have? and we say 02. So let's see if that works. I don't think, oh, it's complaining that that function doesn't exist. Yes, that is true, it doesn't exist. Okay, so here now we're getting some more information. And this is kind of getting into an area of programming that we call data structures. There's a lot of different type of data structures that you can organize your data in. An array is probably one of the more basic ones, but for the most part I think it works, especially with the nature of Autohotkey smaller tools. It usually is sufficient, or at least in this early stage. It's pretty good. So we can put as many pieces of information as we want in here basically about that server. And the only other thing I'll mention here for this lesson is you can have you can put an array inside of this array. So maybe we wanted to keep a track of the load this server has been experiencing over the last 10 minutes or so. And maybe in our program we ping it, or we find out the load it's experiencing every 1 minute. And every 1 minute we would probably want to update our array like this, or let's see. I wrote this beforehand. Let me see if it makes sense for what we ended up with. I think this would work. So we're going to put another array inside of that one. Again, here's where originally defining our array. And again, we're putting an array inside this min load value. That's pretty complicated. I just wanted to mention it real quick that you can do it, but we'll cover that later in the lesson. As far as that, also in this example, min load would be adding to the array every minute or so. You'd probably want to know how to take things out of the array as well, or at least move them around. Originally we had server underscore array dot insert. Oops. Let's just do a number. As well, to remove, it's pretty self-explanatory. You would do remove. Actually, I think that's an index. Let's just try it. Okay. Insert 01, 02. There they are. Guess our look at that again. Remove 01 is not quite working. I think it's more like this. Let's get rid of that. Insert, remove 1. Okay, I think what's going on is this is getting created, another 1 is being created, a 2 is being created, then we're removing the original 1, which is that. Let me just take a look. I don't want to leave us all confused. Yeah, that's what's happening is we're inserting a 1, we're inserting a 2, and then the original 1 gets removed, this one gets moved up to 1. Anyways, that's a little bit advanced, but I just want to make it known so that you don't go adding to array and never removing, and you create a memory leak where the program is taking up more and more memory as it runs. So, well done. I will see you in the next lesson. Go ahead and play around with that command list, find something interesting, find a built-in function that you might be interested in. Take a look at it. This one's real useful in string. It's just a way to figure out if part of a string is in another longer string. I'd love it if you'd be able to take a look at that and find, let's see, Yeah, it's a little complicated. Go ahead and just find something else. Play around with it. I'll see you guys in the next one. My name is Chunji. Bye-bye.